The Bookshop Under the Stars, Chapter 1, Paper Conversations. The bell above the door chimed as Zara stepped into Cosmos Books for the first time, shaking snow from her coat. The bookstore smelled like old paper, coffee, and something else, something like time itself had settled into the corners and decided to stay. "You must be Zara," said an elderly man from behind the counter. He had wild white hair and wore a cardigan covered in cat hair despite there being no cat in sight. "I'm Mr. Chen. Welcome to Cosmos Books." Zara smiled, trying to look more confident than she felt. She needed this job. Her parents had made it clear, if she wanted to go to the state university next year instead of community college, she'd have to contribute. Her boyfriend Tyler thought it was stupid that she was working at all when she should be spending more time with him, but Zara had learned to ignore Tyler's opinions on most things lately. "The work's simple," Mr. Chen said, showing her around. "Shelving, inventory, helping customers. We close at 8 on weekdays, 6 on Sundays. Oh, and my granddaughter Lennon is usually here in the afternoons. She's homeschooled, does her studying upstairs. She's deaf, so don't be startled if she doesn't respond when you call out." Zara nodded, filing that information away carefully. The bookstore was 3 stories of organized chaos. The ground floor held general fiction and a small cafe area with a vintage espresso machine that Mr. Chen admitted he'd never learned to use. The second floor was non-fiction, reference, and a cozy reading nook with mismatched armchairs. The third floor, Mr. Chen's eyes lit up as they climbed the narrow stairs, was special. Astronomy, physics, mathematics, philosophy, he said, gesturing to the shelves. "And through here." He opened a door to reveal a narrow staircase leading up to what looked like a glass dome. "The observatory. Built it myself 40 years ago. We do stargazing nights when weather permits, though fewer people come these days." The observatory was small but magical, with a vintage telescope and windows that opened to the sky. Star charts covered the walls, and cushions were scattered across the floor. Zara could imagine spending hours up here. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Lennon thinks so too. She's up here most afternoons." As if summoned, a girl appeared in the doorway. She looked about 17, Zara's age, with dark hair and a long braid over one shoulder and warm brown eyes. She wore jeans, a thick cream sweater, and fingerless gloves despite being indoors. When she saw them, she smiled and signed something fluid and quick. Mr. Chen signed back, then turned to Zara. "This is my granddaughter, Lennon. Lennon, this is Zara, our new employee." Zara waved awkwardly. Lennon's smile widened, and she waved back before signing something else. "She says welcome, and that she hopes you like stars," Mr. Chen translated. "I do," Zara said, then felt foolish. Lennon couldn't hear her. But Lennon seemed to understand anyway, reading her lips, and gave her a thumbs up before disappearing back into the observatory. Over the next few weeks, Zara fell into a rhythm. School until 3, then the bookstore until 8. Tyler complained constantly about her new schedule cutting into their time together, but Zara found she didn't mind the distance. Working at Cosmos Books felt like breathing after holding her breath for a long time. She saw Lennon almost every shift. The girl was always reading, always reorganizing the astronomy section by some new system, by publication date, by constellation, by the author's birthday. She moved through the bookstore like she belonged to it, or it belonged to her. They didn't speak. Zara didn't know sign language, and Lennon seemed absorbed in her own world. But Zara found herself watching Lennon when she thought no one was looking, the way her fingers traced words on pages, the way she'd pause and stare out the window at nothing, lost in thought. One afternoon, Zara was shelving returns when she found a sticky note on a book about constellations. It had a small sketch of Orion and a message in neat handwriting. This one explains supernovas really well. Zara looked up. Lennon was across the room, reading, but there was a small smile on her face. The next day, Zara left her own note on a poetry book in the astronomy section. Thought you might like this. It's full of poems about stars and space. When she came in for her next shift, the poetry book was gone from the shelf, but there was a new note waiting for her on the counter, tucked under the register. Thank you. Mary Oliver writes about the universe like she's in love with it. Do you have a favorite constellation? Zara smiled and wrote back, Cassiopeia. My mom used to point it out when I was little. What's yours? The paper conversations continued. Notes hidden in books, left on the counter, tucked into Zara's coat pocket when she wasn't looking. They talked about everything, favorite books, whether space was infinite, why people were afraid of silence, what it felt like to really belong somewhere. Lennon's notes were thoughtful and poetic. She wrote about how she experienced the world differently, how she listened with her eyes and her hands, how vibrations told her stories that sound never could. She wrote about feeling isolated sometimes, about how most people didn't have the patience to communicate with her beyond basic pleasantries. Zara wrote back about feeling trapped in a life that didn't quite fit, about how she was dating Tyler because it seemed like what she was supposed to do, not because it made her happy. About how her parents had a plan for her life that didn't include dreams or stars or uncertainty. One evening in late February, Tyler showed up at the bookstore unannounced. Zara was at the counter, reading one of Lennon's notes and smiling to herself. Who's that from? Tyler asked, grabbing the note from her hand. Tyler. That's private. He read it, his expression darkening. The universe is mostly empty space, but that's not sad. It means there's room for infinite possibilities. What is this? Some kind of secret admirer? It's just Lennon. Mr. Chen's granddaughter. We leave each other book recommendations. Lennon? That weird deaf girl who's always here. Tyler's voice was too loud, and Zara flinched, glancing toward the third floor. Don't call her that. What? I'm just saying, it's kind of weird that you're writing notes to some random girl instead of texting your actual boyfriend. She's not random. She's my friend. Since when do you need more friends? You have me. You have Jess and Maria from school. He stepped closer, and Zara resisted the urge to step back. I feel like you've been different since you started working here. Distant. I'm just busy, Tyler. Too busy for your boyfriend, but not too busy for your little note-passing game with. Tyler, stop. Zara's voice was firm. You need to leave. I'm working. He stared at her, surprised. Zara rarely contradicted him. Fine. Whatever. Call me when you remember you have a boyfriend. He left, the bell chiming angrily behind him. Zara's hands were shaking. She looked down at Lennon's note, now crumpled from Tyler's grip. She smoothed it out carefully and tucked it into her pocket. When she looked up, Lennon was standing at the bottom of the stairs, concern clear on her face. She'd obviously seen the whole thing. She signed something, and Zara shook her head helplessly. "I don't understand," she said. "I'm sorry." Lennon pulled out her phone and typed quickly, then showed Zara the screen. "Are you okay?" Zara nodded, then shook her head, then felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know." Lennon walked to the counter and pulled out a piece of paper. She wrote, "Want to see the stars? The sky's clear tonight. Grandpa won't mind if we go up to the observatory." Zara looked at the note, then at Lennon's kind eyes, and nodded. They climbed to the observatory in silence. The sun had set, and through the dome windows, the first stars were appearing. Lennon had blankets stored up here, and she spread them on the floor while Zara turned off the lights. In the darkness, the stars seemed to multiply, filling the sky with light. Lennon patted the blanket beside her, and Zara sat down. They lay back, shoulders touching, staring up at the universe. Zara felt something she couldn't name. It was bigger than sadness, warmer than friendship, more frightening than anything she'd felt before. She turned her head to look at Lennon, who was gazing at the stars with an expression of wonder. Lennon felt her looking in turn too. Their faces were inches apart. Zara's heart was beating so hard she wondered if Lennon could feel the vibrations through the floor. Lennon smiled and signed something, moving her hands slowly so Zara might understand. She didn't, but Lennon pulled out her phone and typed, "Thank you for defending me." "Not many people do." "Always," Zara whispered, knowing Lennon would read her lips. "Always." They stayed in the observatory until closing time, not talking, just existing together under the stars. And when Zara walked home that night, she couldn't stop thinking about the way her heart had raced, the way her skin had tingled where their shoulders touched, the way she'd wanted to stay in that moment forever. She didn't text Tyler back that night. For the first time in her life, Zara wondered if maybe she'd been looking for the wrong kind of love all along. End of Chapter 1. Watch the next video for Chapter 2, Learning to Listen.